Howdy friends, this is Butch at Sand Hollow Homestead in Sand Hollow, Idaho. I thought I'd do a little sit-down shed talk, and I needed a place to get out of the house because we got a bunch of noise going on in there. And so I thought I'd just go out here and in my little carport shed and give you a little talk. I had some thoughts about homesteading. I've been thinking about it myself in my life. So I thought I'd share my thoughts with you as quickly as possible. My quick ain't necessarily always real quick, but I'll sure try. My question is homesteading for young people? Now, what are the pluses and the minuses? What's the good and the bad about starting a homestead when you're young? And I got to thinking about that, and most of it's my life, what I've looked at in my life, and I said, you know, there's strength in youth. And some of the strength is, man, you got some fresh ideas. You got ideas that, well, sometimes the old folk don't just think of, because, I don't know, these young people just, like I say, they dream these dreams, and, you know, they just come up with a lot of new and a lot of fresh ideas. I think it's great. They've got courage against obstacles. They got this attitude, this mindset of, I can do anything. Man, when I was young, there was nothing holding me back. I was doing things that I probably shouldn't have been doing. I was fixing my vehicles, never had any vehicle training, vehicle maintenance training. Oh, I had a little bit of training in the industry that I was in, but I just said, well, I think I can figure this out. And I got in there and done it. That's young people for you. I can do anything. Now they got their health and their endurance, and it seems like they can just work all day long. I'm so impressed watching my boy now. My boy's not a really young person anymore. He's about 47 years old now. But even at 47, that's quite a bit younger than me. So, you know, he can just work hard and work long, and you know, there's the youth for you. And young people have dreams, and they have a drive to complete the tasks that they've set before them. It's like there was a fire burning and they got to get her done. And I think back in my life, when I wanted to do something, oh man, I was just obsessed with the thought of, I got to get this thing done. If I was building something, I wanted to build it right away. If I wanted to, whatever it was, build a garden or do whatever, I wanted to go in there whole hog and get her done. If I can think it, I know I could do it. That was my mindset when I was young. And you had the ability to multitask, like working a job and running a farm. Long hours at a job, and then come home and work long hours on the farm. Young people have that mindset where they can just absorb education. They can get in there and they can take classes, or they can just learn by seeing, and then they can just do. And it just seems to come easy on them. Their eyes are on their dream. In other words, they really can't see anything out to the left and to the right. There's nothing else in this world but their dream, and they're going to focus on it and get her done. They're not looking long way down the road. They're looking right now, this is what I want to do, and I want to get her done. Now, maybe young people have the benefits of the support from their family, like their parents. And I can tell you that in my lifetime, I was fortunate enough to have my father-in-law and mother-in-law that supported me and my wife when we first got married. I look back and I say, how would we have ever done it? Well, eventually, I got in there and I found ways to do it. But when I first started out, I'm telling you, it was a real blessing when my father-in-law said, come on, let's go to town to my, I have an ice locker. And I got a bunch of meat in there I want to pull out, because I'm butchering a calf, and I want you to take some of that meat that's in that locker. And I'd say, are you sure? And you know, I was thinking, meat, we just haven't had hardly much meat at all at that time. I know times are different. You get food stamps, you get all this stuff nowadays, and there's so many food lines and all that stuff. But when I was young, there wasn't all that stuff. And if you didn't raise it, if you didn't grow it, and you didn't work for it at a job, you didn't have it. But my father-in-law, my wife's parents, they stepped in there and they helped us out and gave us things that helped us along the way until we could do it ourselves. The benefits of parents, benefits of family is a lot of times you can use their equipment and their tools. A lot of times it's their advice. I recommend that you try this over here. I wouldn't do it that way. I'd do it this way. The advantage of young people is this technology nowadays. Their ability to use the computers to be able to track things and you know, estimate prices and estimate, you know, they can go online on the internet and just pull up just about anything. And they can watch these videos, for examples, and see what somebody's done. You know, that's just, well, it's a world of difference from when I was young, because I can tell you, when I was young, we didn't have an internet to go in there and see how somebody did it in Mississippi or Georgia or North Carolina or California or Utah or Colorado or Kansas and all this stuff. I mean, I'm watching people right now from all over, actually all over the world. And I've been watching a young man in Cambodia. Can you imagine that, seeing how he's doing his farming? I'll tell you, times have definitely changed. Now, what about the weaknesses in the youth? Well, I was looking at my life again, and I just said, well, I was just too willing to push and push and push, and until I burned out. In other words, I wanted to do everything until I just wore myself down. And sometimes when you wear yourself down too much, you kind of give up. You break your spirit. And you don't want to do that. You want to set legitimate goals, and you just don't want to push too hard. And that's part of what the youth is about. Sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees, as the old saying goes. Because of the mindset of the young is that I want it now, and that's the mindset that they have. I want the farm, and I want the house, I want the equipment and the animals, I want the kids. I want all of this, and I want it now. Why? Because I want to be just like Johnny on the internet. I'm just making up this name, Johnny, and I'm just saying Johnny has it all. And he seems to be a young guy. Why shouldn't I? I want it all. And sometimes they're not looking and not listening for the advice from their parents or friends that are saying, hey, if you want a second opinion on this before you get those loans and you get those, you know, you start charging things. You know, if you want a second opinion, just ask me. Quite often, young people don't want the advice of their parents. Why? Because they've been listening to it all their life. The last thing you want to do is hear the harping and the yelling and the, you know, you can't do it that way, and you want to prove them different. So, you know, sometimes it's good just to listen, even if you're going to cast their ideas aside, and you tell them thank you. You show that respect, because a lot of times, and I'm not saying always, but I'm saying a lot of times, they're out there on your behalf trying to give the advice that you don't do what they did. Sometimes we're afraid of who's in charge. I don't want my parents to be telling me what to do on my land, my property. So I want my choice, my first choice. I want to do it by myself. And sometimes that's good, but you got to be cautious. Don't be afraid to take some advice of some old folk. Because like I say, they already made those mistakes. And sometimes they can prevent you from making those same mistakes. Now, watching videos of success in some other states may not work for you. But it's what I want. I see this Johnny over there, and it's what I want. Well, be careful, folks. And one thing that I've seen in my life, and you have to be careful in your own, You get so busy because you're running a job, maybe you're working 10, 12 hours or so, whatever it is, and then you go home to your farm and work your heart out. You just don't have time for faith. You know what I'm talking about. That time when you take some time just for you and God, you sit down to talk to the Lord. Don't set your faith aside. It's got to be a part of your everyday life. It's got to fit in. And that, my friend, is one of the most scariest things that I can think of, no matter if it's on a farm, little, big, whatever. You just got to keep God in the middle of that. Don't set faith aside because you don't have time. With the work of the Lord, I've made it. And if you've got a job and a farm, you just don't have enough time. Sometimes all of that dream that you have, that vision and that dream and those hopes, sometimes you bite off too much and it's the weight that breaks the camel's back. You've heard of that saying before? Well, believe me, that's when you burn out. That's when you give up. That's when you break down. That's when marriages have problems. Families have problems. Now you need to, young people sometimes they don't plan and they don't prioritize, and there's a difference. There's a difference between planning and prioritizing. When you plan and you make that bullet list of things you want to do, you need to take and you need to put the most important thing up at the top. And you need to focus on that and get that completed to the best of your ability. Now I understand there is times when you prioritize and you get to work on it, you can't finish it because of the weather. Can't finish it because of finances. Can't finish it because of health or whatever reason. The cow's sick and you got to take care of the cow. I understand there's things that's going to affect that. But this rapid impulse decisions to do it quickly is going to get you in trouble. Often young people don't think about what life is going to be like in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. How about 60 years from now? You're going, oh man, give me a break. I probably won't even live that long. What about 50 years from now? That's pretty common. If you're 20-some years old and you're looking at 70-some years old, that's pretty common. People are living that long. And I know homesteading can wear you down, but you need to be thinking about that. You need to be thinking about what is life going to be in 50 years. Are you designing your homestead for a young family? Or are you designing your homestead for a 70-year-old? Man, that hit me right between the eyes. Why? Because I'm going to be 70 next year. Now, I've waited a long time to think about that one, right? Actually, I have thought about it before, but I never really done anything about it. You've got to think about your homestead as if you are a 70-year-old man, 60-year-old man, whatever. I don't know what your dreams are, but will there be a retirement pension in the future for you and your family? Any type of investments that you've made? Is there going to be any money, is what I'm talking about, to survive on? How are you going to be out there with all that cattle and all those goats and all those chickens and all that stuff? When you get in your 70s, you're going to slow down a lot. You're not going to be able to do as much. And you got to be thinking about that. I've heard Doug and Stacy talking about that. In a sense, they have said, we built our homestead with things pretty close to the house, a reasonable distance, because we know as we progressively get older, we can't afford to haul things a long distance. It's going to be too hard on us. So you see, he's already been thinking about that kind of stuff. Are you saving any money? Are you being cautious on how you work and stress your back? You know, they always say use your head, not your back, right? You know, use those hand carts. Lift with your knees. I know that sounds funny, don't it? But I can guarantee you, if you're out there because you're big and strong and you're doing things, it's going to cost you in the long run. Now, if you're thinking about selling your property, hey, when I get to 60, 70 years old, I'm going to sell my place. I'm going to get lots of money and I'm going to be rich. So if you retire, where are you going to retire to? Man, lands and properties are getting super expensive. You're buying a farm now for X amount of dollars. I want you to be thinking about by the time you're 70, you may be getting in a one-room house or maybe a senior citizen retirement home, and you'll be paying as if you was buying a big farm. Oh, them places are expensive, because one thing they do is they got to know how much money you make, how much money you have, all your assets. That's part of the deal. And then they charge you, and they figure out how long. Listen, I know, I've seen it, how long you're going to live, estimated how long you're going to live, and they charge you accordingly, so that if you're going to live 12 years, your money's going to be gone in 12 years. I've seen them charge over $4,000 for a single room. It broke my heart to see some old friends being taken like that, but that's what that business is about. I ain't saying all, but I'm saying a bunch of them are. They're in to make money. That's a big money-making outfit. So if you're thinking about senior citizen stuff, I want you to be thinking about that now. Will you have medical benefits? Here's one. Will all your equipment and your tools be wore out by the time you get to 60, 70 years old? I don't know. Most guys are replacing their tools and their equipment. I understand that, but some of us seem to want to rebuild it, repair it, maintain it, and we do that. Why? We do that because we want to, make it last longer. And eventually, it's just flat wore out like we are. Likely your parents will have passed on, so there won't be that support any longer. Can you do it on your own without your parents? Be thinking about that. All that advice, everything is gone now. So you have to really think about, what is your dream? What is your vision for your homestead, for what you want? And when will enough be enough? What is enough? When will you be happy? When will you be satisfied? Or can you afford to pay the price? If you will you always want more land and more cattle, more equipment, more education, more money? In the Bible, there's some scripture. This, I didn't quote anything, I'm just kind of telling you. The wise man considers if he has enough money to complete the build of a house before he begins to build. In other words, if you had everything but the roof, that wouldn't be so good, would it? You got to think about that. When you build things, you have to consider the cost of what it's going to take to get there to the end, to the completion. And you have to think about your life. How will you have enough to get to the completion? So when is enough enough? What do you really want? And how will you get there? What will it cost? How many secondhand jobs, 2 or 3 jobs on the side of your farm? I don't know. You and your wife both works? Kids work? Who knows? You got to be thinking about all that stuff, right? The most important thing to me out of all of this, and I'll end this with this thought, and that is, I've learned quickly in my married life that it wasn't just my wife and I that was going into this marriage, wasn't going into this homestead, wasn't going in through life. There was a third person involved, and that third person had to be in the middle, and that was Jesus Christ. he had to be in the middle between my wife and I. He had to be there so that when my wife Ann could turn to him when she needed him, and I could turn to Christ when I needed him, and we could turn to Christ because Christ had to be there all the time. Now, I'm not saying there isn't dry times, hard times, and broke times, but it's real important that you include Christ in your life and make sure that he's there to help you make those decisions of life, because you'll find his scripture that will help you through those times, and through your prayers you'll find that God is leading you. God never pushes, folks. God never pushes. He leads you. So I'm going to end this with that. And I know that you've probably heard some of this from your parents. Hopefully you have. And hopefully you'll tell your children about this too. Because, like I say, when you get up in your age, you start thinking about this stuff even more so. And you want to pass that wisdom on. Is it wisdom? Yeah, you're telling them, don't do what I did. Or maybe you're saying, this is what I did, and it works. So anyhow, is homesteading for young people? I do believe it is, as long as Christ is with you. And it's for old people too, as long as you've prepared for it, and you've prioritized, and you've made it happen with the help of God. Well, I hope this has been, well, I hope it's just a little spark that sets the fire of you thinking. And so I just send my blessings to you all. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video. This is probably a long, short video. So from the shed here, our shed talk, we'll see you in the next video from Sand Hollow Homestead. Bye now. By the way, it's pretty warm in here.